Bold and the Beautiful throws Eric Forrester into retirement from Forrester Creations against his will, but he's got lots more designs and inspiration still inside him. This cruel turn of events could be what brings back Thomas Forrester in a big twist. Later this month, we'll talk about how Thomas's return to Bold might motivate Eric to start a new fashion house to compete with Forrester Creations. Bold and Beautiful, Thomas Forrester returns. In case you missed it, there are a few significant confirmed spoilers that have to do with this. In the beginning, Matt Atkinson was back at B&B filming episodes in late October and early November. We also know that they were filming Christmas episodes when he returned. So, Thomas should be back for the holidays. It's confirmed. The fact that a rival fashion house will soon appear on B&B is the other extremely significant spoiler that Brad Bell has confirmed. It could be that these two spoilers coincide. It would be amazing if Thomas was back for good and he returned to work with Eric. So, let's talk about what might happen. Ridge's betrayal, Eric Forrester's forced retirement. Right now, Ridge Forrester claims he's looking out for his dad's best interest, but springing a forced retirement in the form of a surprise party was a pretty terrible thing to do. Eric attempted to argue with him. He tried unsuccessfully to persuade Ridge to reconsider. And so, he just had to walk away. Eric told Donna Logan that he doesn't think he's finished yet, that he's really coming into his own as a designer, and that he's in a new creative phase. Steffy Forrester even said that Eric's collection is the best work she's ever seen. Ridge has at least acknowledged that throwing a surprise retirement party was a bad idea. But he isn't giving up. He still wants Eric out of there. Eric is currently taking Ridge's actions seriously. And Eric feels like he's got no recourse and is going to be stuck playing pickleball with Donna and going on Royal Caribbean cruises, right? A Christmas surprise. Will Thomas Forrester stand up for Eric? However, a family visit this holiday season could alter Eric's life forever. He is very angry at Ridge, but Eric doesn't have enough votes to fight back at Forrester Creations, and Steffy is siding with Ridge because Finn said she should retire for Eric's health. Now, she does have his best interest at heart. It is abundantly clear that Ridge pulled this stunt not only out of concern for Eric's health, but also because he has stated that it is his turn to lead and take center stage. That's going to trigger the next big umbrella story that's coming to the Bold and the Beautiful starting in early 2026. Beautiful and Bold. Does Ridge rule? With Thomas confirmed back for holiday episodes and knowing the Forresters are doing Christmas at Eric's house, obviously, Thomas is going to be there talking to Eric about this forced retirement. Even if Ridge stated to Thomas that he believes it is the best option, this does not imply that Thomas shares his father's viewpoint. We also know Ridge has forced Thomas out of Forrester Creations in the past over personal issues, usually with Brooke Logan, that had nothing to do with his design work. Everything was always private. Whether you agree with what Thomas did or not, it had nothing to do with his job. So, I'm going to guess that Thomas and Eric will commiserate about what Ridge did to him. You know, Ridge has forced me out in the past as well, Thomas might say. So, I don't think Thomas is going to be too happy seeing his grandpa Eric all depressed. He may show Thomas his designs. You know, Steffi was already wowed by them. So, Thomas is going to be like, whoa, these are amazing. These can't stay unmade. They have to be shown to the world. Forging a new dynasty, a rival fashion house in the making. It could be that Thomas either directly suggests to Eric that he start his own design house, or maybe talking to Thomas inspires Eric to come up with the idea to start a rival house. But what would be really incredible is if Thomas comes back to start it with Eric. That way we get Matt Atkinson back to Bold and the Beautiful. But it wouldn't be a Thomas storyline that's about him with Hope Logan. Instead, it could be a Forrester versus Forrester, father versus son thing with Eric, Thomas, and Ridge all in the mix. Even though Thomas played nice on his last return and gave Brooke his blessing, he is probably still annoyed that Ridge broke his mom Taylor's heart. Simply put, I believe that Thomas has come to the realization that Brooke is not to blame. I mean, clearly Ridge is to blame for all of this. It would be a fantastic turn for Bold and the Beautiful to bring Thomas back full-time to serve as Eric's design partner. Fans have been kind of worn out on this Luna Nozawa thing. They beat that to death. No pun intended. Additionally, the majority of viewers have grown weary of the Will Spencer and Steffi show. So getting back to core characters and core plots revolving around fashion has got to boost ratings. Key players in the Forrester Rebellion. Putting together the Team Thomas coming back to be Eric's secret weapon would be incredible, especially if Thomas and Eric set up the fashion house and launch it behind Ridge's back. Can you imagine the look on Ridge's face if he found out his father Eric and his son Thomas were now his biggest rivals? I'm also expecting Katie Logan to leave Forrester Creations, too. Her feeling disgruntled and pushed aside by Ridge and Brooke is another big red flag of all this happening. Additionally, Katie accepts Bill Spencer's proposal this week. I expect her to say yes regardless of whether she says no. They are locked in as a couple. She will probably feel sorry for Eric because Ridge pushed them both to the side, and Brooke was there to support Ridge's arrogant behavior. As a result, in a big business storyline, everything is aligning to split the character canvas in half, with Eric and Katie leaving and Bill attempting to punish Ridge for dirtying his beloved Katie. Bill can finance Eric's fashion house, and Liam Spencer can make sure their publication Eye on Fashion heavily promotes it. Katie can be the new CEO of this fashion house so that Eric can focus on designs. Katie was the CEO of Forrester at one point, so that works. And if Eric brought Thomas back to town secretly to be his co-designer, that'd be amazing. I could also see others defecting from Forrester Creations to join the rival house, like Ivy Forrester and Will Spencer. It would also be absolutely stunning if Thomas was a part of all this. The future of Thomas Forrester on B&B. A favorite returns plus. A lot of fans really want Matt Atkinson back to bold and the beautiful for good. And let's be real, if Thomas wasn't chasing Hope around, I think even more fans would be on board with his return. A lot of fans just don't want Thomas with Hope because of the whole ick of the baby Beth story. Well, if that was off the table, I think a ton of fans would embrace Thomas back, especially with him standing shoulder to shoulder with Eric to take down Ridge, with Bill Spencer there as their hype man and their financier. Therefore, it's possible that Brad Bell has decided to reverse Thomas's apparent permanent departure. Maybe they'll bring him back on contract. You know, Matt Atkinson could be back full-time in 2026 as part of this rival fashion house storyline. Imagine the shock on Ridge's face if Eric started a competing fashion house and Thomas was right there at his side. I would love it so much. The bold and the beautiful spoilers hint that Thomas Forrester may bring a Christmas miracle. Will Thomas fix Ridge Forrester and Eric Forrester's broken bond this year? Thomas indeed has a Christmas comeback on the way, so that's important to keep in mind. As the show gets into the holiday spirit, Thomas may play a key role in bringing the Forrester family together. Fans of B&B are aware that Eric and Ridge recently had a significant fight at Forrester Creations. Although Eric ultimately settled down and accepted Ridge's decision to push him toward retirement, he was still angry and hurt. At the same time, Eric feels a bit guilty about some of the things he said to Ridge during that heated confrontation. Likewise, Ridge has been having some second thoughts about how he handled everything and is now questioning if he did the right thing. Both Ridge and Eric still love each other, so there's still time for them to truly patch things up before Christmas. Maybe Eric and Ridge could even reach a compromise this holiday season. Since Thomas adores both his dad and granddad, he may make it his mission to fix this once he's back in the picture. Thomas could be the source of this year's Christmas miracle if he helps Ridge and Eric find a solution they can both agree on. Of course, it might be a team effort with Steffy Forrester Finnegan now that she's found Eric's amazing sketches. Steffy might tell Thomas about those and leave him determined to make sure Ridge sees the new designs, too. Thomas might tell Ridge about the sketches and make Eric show them to Ridge. This could lead to Eric contributing to the couture line after all, and perhaps promising he won't overdo it with a ton of other work. Ridge might as well put those extraordinary sketches to good use at Forrester Creations, and could easily do that once he knows they exist. In any case, according to the bold and the beautiful spoilers, Thomas's return home could help unite the Forrest family. So keep an eye out for updates on whether he will bring good news for Ridge and Eric. The bold and the beautiful spoilers say that he might not be the nice, easygoing guy that everyone clearly thought he was. Naturally, Eric Forrester is the subject of our conversation. Now that he's being pushed out of Forrester Creations by his own son Ridge Forrester, there's a good possibility that he might go dark. Is Eric Forrester about to go dark? To put it another way, He will transform into the villain that no one was aware he was. But that's not to say that he's doing something malicious. If he has to leave Forrester for good, on the other hand, he might just start his own fashion house. It goes without saying that the internet had a lot to say about Eric Forrester's potential future in this storyline. On social media, fans of the soap wrote things like, Eric and Stephanie raised Ridge as heir apparent. This is really about them both raising an entitled person. Ridge was indulged by Stephanie. Eric taught Ridge he wouldn't have bothered if he didn't believe Ridge could make it. Eric has business and kids. Additionally, they work for the company. It's a little like a circle. Brad Bell doesn't write well anymore. They can't hire a family for stories. FFS, well, has a beach house on the only part of Malibu that is cloudy. What's next for Eric Forrester? Another critic of the show wrote, maybe Steffi will use her shares to side with Eric. Nothing they say or do is without reason. Having the majority stockholder admiring Eric's work today means something. I just can't believe they're running this tired storyline again so soon. And then there was this comment as well. She keeps talking about their special relationship. In this instance, she can act to support him and kick her father out. The bold and the beautiful spoilers say that this certainly would disrupt the system in more ways than one. Clearly, we are talking about the possibility of Thomas Forrester returning to this fictional town of Los Angeles just so he could romance Sally Spectra. The bold and the beautiful spoilers. Will Thomas Forrester come back to romance Sally Spectra? The bold and the beautiful spoilers indicate there's a chance that Sally might come back if Eric Forrester calls her to help him start his new fashion house. As many fans of the show are aware of by now, Ridge Forrester is doing everything he can to push his father out the door so he can be in complete control of Forrester Creations. That's why there's a chance that Eric might bring Sally back, which of course will bring Thomas Forrester back in the fold. And while there's no doubt that Thomas loves his father Ridge very much, he's more likely to side with his grandfather Eric, especially after he sees the injustice that he's been dealing with at Forrester Creations. The bold and the beautiful spoilers. What's next for Thomas Forrester? This entire storyline might even bring Sally and Thomas back together again. And while that shouldn't become a problem for anyone, it will. Because if there's anything that we've learned about the Logan sisters, and especially Hope Logan, it's that they always want what they can't have. This new fashion house is going to make an impact on just about everyone. Now, whether or not Thomas actually comes back home from Paris remains to be seen. But seeing how his family really needs him right now, there's a good chance that he'll be back sooner rather than later. Watch this space for more. It goes without saying that the bold and the beautiful fans will simply have to tune in each and every day to find out what will happen next. B&B airs weekdays on the CBS network. For times, check your local listings. In the interim, please share your thoughts with us in the section below marked comments. Ridge Forrester crossed a line on the bold and the beautiful last week and tried to force his dad out of FC with a surprise retirement party. Eric Forrester didn't take his son's party well, and there's a war brewing at the fashion house. Next week's preview shows the Forrester patriarch screaming that he won't be put out to pasture. Is Ridge Forrester truly concerned about the health of his father, or does he have ulterior motives? Find out by reading on. Warning, B&B spoilers coming up below. Is Eric truly passing away? On the CBS soap this week, Eric Forrester and his son are engaged in a full-scale conflict at Forrester Creations. Ridge has several members of the Forrester family convinced that Eric's health is going downhill and he needs to retire and stay home to ensure he is around for many more years. According to B&B spoilers, Steffy Forrester, Brooke Logan, and Carter Walton will all jump on Ridge's bandwagon and try to keep Eric Forrester out of the office. Eric has different ideas though. He wants to die doing what he loves most and launch more of his iconic designs while he still can. Eric Forrester devastated. The fact that no one in his family is supporting his dreams will break the patriarch's heart. This is the second time that Ridge tried to force his father into retirement because of his health. Viewers will recall last time the father and son had an almost deadly fashion showdown. If he really loves Eric Forrester, shouldn't he want his dad to be happy? Does he have other reasons? Thomas Forrester's sudden and jaw-dropping return to Los Angeles sent shockwaves throughout the Forrester Creations empire, leaving everyone, friends, rivals, and family alike, reeling in disbelief as he emerged from the shadows, a man seemingly reborn and carrying with him intentions that could either save or completely dismantle the Forrester legacy. And the timing could not have been more explosive, coinciding with Eric Forrester's meticulously guarded secret weapon that had been quietly taking shape behind closed doors, a plan so audacious that it threatened to upend the balance of power in the fashion world, particularly in the cutthroat competition against Spectre Fashions, the rival house that had been slowly encroaching on the Forrester name with every daring collection launch, every aggressive marketing strategy, and every scandalous social maneuver. And as Thomas stepped into the hallowed halls of the Forrester Design Studio, his eyes scanning familiar spaces, now tinged with the faint scent of betrayal and ambition, he immediately sensed that nothing would ever be the same, that the threads of loyalty, deceit, and raw ambition had been woven together into a tapestry so intricate that even his legendary instinct for drama and design might not be enough to navigate the storm ahead. And yet, there was a spark of determination in Thomas, a flicker of the old fire that had driven him to defy conventions, to manipulate situations to his advantage, and to always, somehow, emerge not merely unscathed, but triumphant. And this time, his return was not just about reclaiming attention or exacting revenge, but about stepping into a larger game, a game in which his father Eric's secret weapon, an undisclosed strategy, a hidden collection, or perhaps an alliance so powerful it could destabilize the rival house's carefully curated image, was poised to make an unprecedented impact. And the timing, Thomas realized, was impeccably choreographed, almost as if Eric had anticipated the chaos Thomas's presence would inevitably ignite, knowing that every glance, every whispered rumor, and every subtle shift in power dynamics could be exploited to the Forrester family's advantage. And the intrigue only deepened as Thomas, who had always been a master of reading both people and opportunities, began piecing together the puzzle. The sudden urgency in Ridge's demeanor, the cryptic conversations overheard in the studio corridors, and the strange new contracts, and designs arriving under Eric's signature, but carrying a tone and ambition that suggested a bold new vision, one that threatened to leave Spectre scrambling in reactive mode, unable to anticipate the maneuvers of a family whose roots ran deep into the fashion world, whose influence was both broad and enduring, and whose determination to maintain the top spot was rivaled only by the sheer cunning of the patriarch. Eric, who had always operated several steps ahead, a man whose secrets were as legendary as his collections, and whose newest weapon, now poised to be unveiled, seemed designed not only to cement Forrester Creations' supremacy, but also to serve as a personal message to anyone daring enough to challenge their legacy. A message of dominance, strategic brilliance, and an unspoken but unmistakable threat. And as Thomas re-engaged with the team, the subtle tension was palpable. Conversations laced with double meanings, glances that conveyed both suspicion and hope, and an atmosphere charged with anticipation, because everyone knew that with Thomas's return came unpredictability, emotional volatility, and the potential for upheaval. Yet beneath the surface, Thomas was equally drawn to the lure of his father's secret plan, intrigued by the idea that perhaps this time, the Forrester house could deploy a strategy so cunning that even Thomas's most audacious schemes would pale in comparison. And the thought sparked a dangerous excitement within him, the kind that only those with a penchant for drama and high stakes could ever understand, as the family prepared to launch into a sequence of events that would intertwine personal vendettas, professional rivalry, and calculated manipulations into a narrative more captivating than any fashion runway drama could ever portray. And as the first hints of Eric's secret weapon began to emerge, a collaboration shrouded in mystery, a line designed to challenge not just trends, but the very perception of Forrester's creative genius, Thomas couldn't help but feel a rush of adrenaline, a mixture of fear and exhilaration that only came from standing on the precipice of change, the kind of change that could either destroy or elevate, depending on how deftly the moves were played. And as he delved deeper, conversations with Ridge became more tense, moments of awkward familiarity interspersed with unspoken warnings, while Steffy, sensing both excitement and danger, tried to navigate the new dynamics, understanding that the ripple effects of Thomas's return would touch every corner of their lives, from design studios to boardrooms, social events to intimate family dinners, and yet, through the haze of intrigue, one thing was becoming abundantly clear. Eric's secret weapon, whatever form it would take, was not simply a defensive tactic, but a masterstroke. A declaration that the Forrester house would not only survive the encroachment of rivals, but would redefine the rules of engagement, a revelation that had everyone, including Thomas, on edge, strategizing and second-guessing each other, aware that in this game, a single misstep could cost reputations, relationships, and empires, and as the days unfolded, Thomas's interactions with key players became a high-stakes chess match, subtle manipulations, fleeting alliances, and bursts of raw emotion combining to create an atmosphere thick with tension, excitement, and uncertainty. While Eric, ever the enigmatic patriarch, watched and orchestrated with quiet precision, knowing that every move, every reaction, every whispered rumor played into the larger narrative of dominance he was constructing, and as Thomas began to probe the depths of the secret plan, he realized that it might involve more than just fashion. It could include financial leverage, strategic partnerships, media manipulation, and perhaps even an unexpected public reveal designed to humiliate or destabilize Spectra fashions. And the potential ramifications were enormous because the ripple effects would be felt not just in boardrooms and boutiques, but across the social spectrum of Los Angeles, touching everyone who had a stake in the glitzy, high-stakes world of elite fashion. And as Thomas strategized, leveraging his own knowledge, cunning, and experience in the industry, he started to see how he could align himself with Eric's plans while also carving out his own power base.